Hello, I'm James Marshall and I'm the Head of Customer and Communications at Southampton City Council. Today I'm going to talk to you about service design, specifically service redesign, and how we transformed our customer service operation by insourcing it. The talk is going to be in three parts. One, why we made the change. Two, how we made the change and what principles we applied. And then thirdly, what we're doing now and what difference that's made. So let's kick off with why we made the change. About 3 years ago, I was given responsibility for managing the contract for our customer service operation. So that's the contact centre and the face-to-face elements of customer service, dealing with most of the council's interactions at the first port of call. It wasn't working for a range of reasons, and there was a range of challenges there. So I think part of the problem was a lack of ownership, because this is a challenge around outsourcing. So there were contractual measures that were in place that were being met on the whole, but they weren't driving the right behaviours or leading to the right outcomes for customers. Some of the KPIs were driving speed and efficiency, but actually that was leading to inefficiency due to repeat calls, failure demand and other things. There was also kind of an organisational lack of ownership of customers and customer service. So I think in some ways the organisation had mentally outsourced customer service to a third-party provider and then thought, we don't need to worry about that, it's over there. And that led to some poor thinking and a poor culture around customers. Also, it came off the back of an aggressive approach towards channel shift, with the right ambitions around saving money and being more efficient and moving more transactions online, but it was a very much digital by default, make non-digital channels harder to access and drive people to digital by force, and that led to other challenges, poor reputation and a lot of people feeling lost and vulnerable, and a lot of those changes had been about wrapping things up in complex IVRs to try and make it hard to deal with the council over the phone, and then driving them to digital processes that hadn't necessarily always been finished or thought through. So it was all a bit of a mess, and there was a range of issues and problems, and the contract had been out for about 12 years, and I think it certainly driven efficiencies and created savings early on, but as time had drifted, it came time for a new approach. Now it was one service of many. There were several being provided by the same outsourcing provider. So we took the approach of, it became apparent that actually, I think, to get to the outcome we wanted and to put customers back at the heart of service delivery for Southampton City Council, we needed to bring that contract back in-house and have more control and flexibility about how it was delivered and the targets that were in place. So as part of a group of managers, we put some evidence together and went through the process of getting agreement politically and through the senior leadership team of bringing those services back in-house. And that was approved. And alongside that, we looked at other wraparound support, so taking a far more customer-centric approach to redesigning key digital channels, adding things like web chat in, and supporting the customer in their contacting the council. So that's where we got to, decided that it was time to make that change, and managed to get agreement for that, terminated the contract, and then there was a year-long programme to plan and design the new service for when it returned. So, bringing the service back in-house, it's a big job. We had a year from terminating the contract to when it came back in, and there's a difficult balancing act there around managing the contract to continue to perform for our customers, but with people knowing that there's an uncertain future. So there's a challenge around keeping the good bits going, security there, but also planning for the future and making sure that the longer term ambitions can be met and achieved. So there was constant tension there in how that was managed, but that was a challenge, but we overcame that and managed that through that year's time, but also spent that year really planning in detail what the new service would look like, and spending time listening to customers, how they're interacting with the current service, following those customer journeys through, seeing what were the difficult challenges, how they were received, how they were dealt with, how the systems and processes worked, and then how things that were dealt with at the front end through customer service were then passed into the council's service department, and how that worked and how it worked for services. So lots of talking to customers, listening to customers, talking to services, understanding what was working, what wasn't working, and how we could shape a service that would deliver better for everyone after that year. And I think constantly going back to listening to the customer, seeing it from their perspective, flowing through those customer journeys step by step, seeing each kind of interaction and how that unfolded was really critical in getting the right design of the service when we came back. And understanding the people, I think that was a key thing, and getting to spend as much time with the people who were involved in delivering that service as possible was really important, because I'm a firm believer that people don't deliver good customer service if they're not happy and satisfied in their role. So I think we needed to create a much more inclusive and supportive culture where people could be proud of what they're doing and how they're doing their job, and that would enable them to go that extra mile and deliver a bit more for the customers when they came back. We weren't able to influence that through the year, but it was able to be part of our planning for how we brought those services back. And the D-Day was on the 23rd of July 2019. So, service is back. It's in our control. It's what we've wanted. A big responsibility. Time to make change and time to have free rein. But all that year of planning coming into fruition. So, first things first. The people are really important. The employees have been through an uncertain year, not knowing what the future holds. It's important to give them a nice welcome. We worked collaboratively as all the services that were involved in this left gifts on their desks, welcome packs, did a big kind of induction event, welcome them to the council, fronted by the leader and the chief executive, and make sure they understood what it was about to work at Southampton City Council. So that was really great, but we needed to balance that with the fact that actually the next week we'd be starting a restructure. I know it's difficult, but we felt it was easier to rip that band-aid off quicker and deal with the fact we needed to change the structure and put a new structure in place and put new job roles in place to achieve the model we've been planning. But we were very upfront with them. Transparency around that was critical. So honestly welcoming them back and explaining to them what was going to happen, and then supporting them and talking them through the process. Many of them hadn't been through a process like that because of working in a different sort of sector. It was a new thing for them, but we were able to do what we could to support them through what was a difficult time. So recruitment was really important. We were able to grow the team slightly and put more focus on people on the front line delivering actual customer service. So that's really critical. So recruitment was really important, get the right people in to the gaps that we had left, and create the culture we wanted. Culture from the word go was critical to us. Getting that right culture would enable us to focus on customers. And we did that by demonstrating that in some simple ways. One of their biggest targets before was average handling time, how long they spent on the phone with each customer. And it was very curtailed because the shorter the call, the more calls they could handle and the quicker they could answer and the more customers they got through. But that led to rushing, that led to mistakes, that led to failure, which led to repeat calls, and that wasn't a problem because as long as those calls were answered quickly and dealt with quickly, they still met target. So we abolished the target for average handling time immediately, which took some people a bit of time to get their head around, but it was like, you take the right amount of time for the customer you're dealing with and you are best placed to determine that. We still measure it, we still monitor it, and if people are taking much longer than they should, then we use coaching and support to understand why that is. But I think that sent a very clear message from day one. Things are different, it's about the customer, it's not about arbitrary targets, and that was a real good starting point to kind of get the culture change rolling. So another key change that we made from day one was putting a real emphasis on the customer feedback, because the voice of the customer is critical to ensuring that customer-centred culture. So the survey was available before, and it's a very simple survey about satisfaction with the call and whether the issue was resolved. But previously, not many calls were put through to it, and we were able to get a 10-fold increase in number of surveys completed because we put an emphasis on it and said that it's really important we transfer customers to it. All customers, not just ones you think have been really happy with what you've done, but all customers, so we get a reflective view of how we're doing, and then we can use that to help shape the service, improve the service, and drive the right behaviours further. So we really made that fun and engaging for people, rewarding the person who put the most surveys through each week and things like that. But it really started ramping up, and as I said, 10 surveys, 10 times increase in surveys, which was really exciting. And I think the other thing we did away from targets was just supporting that customer-centred culture by recognising where it happened. So lots of support, lots of senior management around and team leaders around listening to what's going on. And when you hear a good bit of customer service happening, supporting that immediately, validating it, saying that's great, that's what we want. When you hear people going above and beyond, that's really important, because that drives the right behaviour, and when they see that rewarded, it grows that culture. We launched a Star of the Week, which was a simple thing, but supported when we got really good customer feedback, and we got a big increase in positive customer feedback from the interactions residents were having with our service, and the complaints fell off a cliff. I'm not saying we never get any, but they're significantly lower. So we started to see that culture change much sooner than we thought we would, and that was exciting, and we were able to build on that. And as we brought new people in, we created a new culture that was focused on the customer and able to deliver things. We were also able to have much more collaborative conversations and work with the back office service areas on how the process was from start to finish, and make tweaks and improvements so that we could support them. And training and understanding of the authority was really important to us, so we delivered better quality training, got things in place so that they had induction packs, reference guides, and then shadowing and things were a great opportunity, so that people taking calls around highways could spend a day with highways inspectors looking at potholes, understanding what their criteria were, what sort of things they were looking for, and the challenges that were in their job, so that when they put a case through, they knew the information it was needed to get it resolved, which links back to that first time resolution focus that we'd made very clear from the word go. So that was all really positive and moving in the right direction, and we were filling our vacancies and things were ticking along really nicely, and then coronavirus comes. So that, which knocked things initially, and you think, oh no, it's wrecked our great plans for improvement. But actually we were already in a really strong place to deal with that. And we were required to set up a helpline for residents and businesses to deal with whatever inquiries they had around the virus. And we were able to do that in 3 days, which we wouldn't have had that level of flexibility before. So put that in place, set up a line, train the team, and trained as we went. And we're able to bring other people from other parts of the council whose roles were able to be released, redeployed into the contact centre, and they came in and supported that line, and it was really good. We managed to run it really efficiently, quick answering of calls, and then triaging the calls and directing people to the right support. But we were able to do that really quickly and really flexibly, and we're now doing other things like supporting a city pilot into saliva testing for coronavirus, and we run the contact centre in partnership with the university, but we deal with the calls from people who've got questions around that. So having it back in house has given us more options and more flexibility than we'd have ever had before. And we've been able to pick the momentum back up and continue with our transformation journey, looking at things that we can include and change to make things more focused. Another area is digital, so we've got a specialist digital team within the contact centre who deal with web chat, but also social media customer service. It's a growing area and one that wasn't properly handled before, but we now have a dedicated team who can offer web chat, which is a great channel and has enabled us to reach new customers and support people to stay online with that kind of additional help. And social media, because people do go to Twitter or Facebook when they're not happy and they want to report things, and if it sits there, there's a reputational impact on that. So we're able to get in, respond, advise them what to do, report things, and take that off there and look like an active and responsive organisation, and that's been really helpful. And I think the organisation has understood that customer service is at the heart of their kind of reputation, because if things are dealt with well, dealt with first time, and dealt with in the right way, it reflects really well on the organisation, even if things have gone wrong. So in summary, it's been a really good project, and it's achieved a great deal for the council. Since coming back, we've answered more calls. We've answered them on average a minute quicker than before, and we are getting more feedback and more positive feedback, and we've saved a significant amount of money. We've also given ourselves more flexibility and control to give better wraparound support through web chat and social media and other channels, and be flexible to meet the needs of the council and the city with things like the coronavirus helpline and other things. So a great project, a great success, but still the transformation continues and there's more work to be done on the digital side, and that's what we're going to be working on next.